Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Compassion Masters TV, where we're sharing our lives because you matter. We're your hosts. I'm Miss Toy, here with my son, Layton.
Yo, what's up, guys? Episode 3. Thank you for tuning in once again.
Thank you. So, we've been reading my book, Power Trip, My Wacky Wonderful Experience with Womanhood thus far. I try to correlate what we talk about with the chapters. So last week we talked about sex. This week I feel like let's talk about how we choose religion for our children. What about choosing political parties for our children? Should we? And at what point, Layton, do you think children should make their own decision, or should they just stick with what their parents taught them?
I don't think they should just stick with anything just because you're told to do something, regardless if that's a parent or a teacher, or if you grew up with your grandmother, your uncles. It doesn't matter who is like the authoritative figure in your life. That doesn't mean you should just stick with anything just because that's what you were originally taught. You should just always be learning and obviously dig deeper. Let's say obviously I grew up in a Christian household. There's nothing wrong with that, and I can dig deeper and learn more about it and everything, because I think people, that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. They grew up some way, a certain way, and they stick with that because it's easy. They think they know everything about it, and it's convenient. You don't have to start over.
True.
So, and then that ends up being a problem, because then you have people who really don't know what they're talking about, but they feel like they do, so they're out spitting out these opinions, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. You should just have your own experiences and let that mold how you're going to be, or what you believe, or who you follow in politics, or whatever it is.
True. I think that happened to me over time. I did grow up in a certain household, and then I changed and went to a different direction because my father said, I was getting bored with church and going to church and the routine, and then I changed and switched to a different one and had fun and learned a lot. Then switch back, so we just do different things. But I do think it's good, like you said, to have your own mind in regards to choosing, because even as this is election year and political party, I just so happen to resonate with what my parents had already selected. So it wasn't that I couldn't change or wouldn't change. It's just I agreed with what they had already selected. So what are you going to do for Zuleika, for your daughter?
Like I said, she will have the benefit of growing up with us and just seeing and experiencing that way. And so at that point, or not at that point, when she gets older, then at that point, then she can decide whatever she wants to decide. Because at the end of the day, you can't make, your kids do anything. Once they get to a certain age, you have no control over that anymore. So why even try do that in the first place? Because then it just adds static in the relationship, and you guys end up, regardless, they're going to do whatever they want to do. And you just want to, the main thing is to have a great relationship with your parents, your kids, whatever it is. And I feel like when you're trying to be forceful, it doesn't work anyways. And it just ends up being frustrating.
That's with any decision, even a decision that you'd say, I wasn't born in the right gender. That's a choice to me that a child should make. I think it fits right along with what you're saying. Like if they say they don't, you don't agree?
No, I don't agree. No, that's not the same thing to me.
Yes, it is.
No, I don't think it is. No.
Well, what about?
We're talking about a belief, something that can be changed as easy as today from tomorrow, and then kids making choices to be a boy or a girl, and either chopping something off or taking hormones to have a deeper voice. And I saw one girl took shots so she can start growing facial hair. Like, that's completely different. And I don't think kids should be making that decision. I think they need to be able to grow up first and then decide. You can act like a boy, act like a girl, whatever. But when you start doing things like you're altering your body, that's completely different.
Well, but how old should they be before they can make that decision in your mind?
I don't know, but definitely not no little kid. Because right now we're talking about kids and choosing for them.
And the reason why I'm saying that because
for them to be a boy or girl. I'm just saying you should, as a parent, not even a parent, as an adult, you shouldn't be letting a kid run around and take you to the doctor's office. Oh, I want to do this, whatever. Like that's not. I
Well,
don't think that's the same at all.
it's interesting that we're related
Hmm.
because I don't feel that way. I feel like
Well,
if
I would
you
think you
let's
would
say,
because you're a nurse, and I would think that you would know all the consequences of little kids
well, I'm
altering
putting
things.
myself in. Okay, let's say you came to me and you
Mm-hmm.
said, "Mom, I don't feel right as a boy. I really think I should have been a boy.
Well, okay.
I think I should have been
This is
born."
hypothetical, by the way. This talk did not happen.
No, it
So,
didn't happen. But I'm still saying right now in the news, there's a couple that's going through it, and they embracing their child and the child's feelings. The
that's what
child's
I'm saying. Feelings, though, that's different. But when you're talking about be like changing yourself, that's a completely different thing that a child I don't think should have any control over.
no,
Because
they're
I'd be
not
like,
changing anything.
yeah,
They
but
just
that's what I'm talking about. Like
oh
changing, like obviously there are people who know, like when they're kids, they know if they're gay or
yeah
lesbian when they're from a young age. That's not a
yeah
problem. But
yeah
I'm talking about changing their bodies and doing different things. Like I saw someone there on Dr. Phil. Like I said, the girl was taking taking like testosterone shots to make so she can grow a little facial hair
yeah.
and she was doing something to her throat so she could have a deeper voice. Like, and
Hmm.
she was like 11. Like that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're saying they should be older.
That's why I'm saying there's a difference between like religion where it's like thoughts, like that's like your mind,
Yeah.
and that's fine if you want to be Christian, Catholic, whatever. But then
Hmm.
then I'm talking about actually altering your body and changing things about you at a young age. You can do it whenever like you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. But like when you're a kid, I don't think that's something you even have any idea what you're talking about. You could say that you think that you feel wrong, whatever, and
Yeah.
then you grow up, not even grow up, like a year later, you're like, oh, I don't know why I felt that way, but you
Hmm.
don't feel like that anymore because kids don't know what they want.
I'm just saying, if you came to me and
Okay,
said
well, I
that,
did not
I
come
know
to
you
you, so
didn't. You want to make that clear.
yeah, I do,
Like I didn't.
but also, I just want to. No, you know what? Go ahead.
I'm just saying, when you love your child and they come to you and say, "Look, I don't feel right in this body," I feel like I would be supportive of that. And it may be because I'm a female.
That's
Maybe
totally fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't support. I'm gonna support Zuleika and everything she wants too. Like if she said she wanted to be a boy, I'm not gonna be like automatically that's wrong. That's not my point. I'm saying if she wants to change something about herself, she wants to be doing something to change your body and whatever. Like that's not happening when you're 8 years old. That's just not how it's going down.
okay, I got you. Okay, that's cool. That's fair. You have an age criteria for the changes.
Yeah, when you are in control of yourself, not me. So
Okay,
that's
that's
it.
fair. All right. Well, chime in, everybody, if you have an opinion on
I'm about
this.
to, no, we're not chiming nobody because then all the Karens are gonna come in complaining, and I don't have time for that. So yeah,
No.
we're gonna keep this conversation between you and I, and that's it. Anybody watching, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. Whatever.
You didn't say nothing wrong. You
No, I
said
know. I'm just saying. I already know that everybody. We're gonna get letters, and I'm not even known yet, and that people are still gonna be finding a way to get our address. And no,
no. You didn't say nothing wrong. You said
I didn't. No, I know I didn't say anything wrong. I'm just talking about people in general
yeah.
want to be so upset about everything. All
True.
I'm saying is, when you're a kid, you don't. First of all, you don't even have your brain developed to a certain point to make certain
True.
decisions. That's
That's
why
true.
kids aren't allowed to do certain things.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to do this. Like you have to be a certain age. Like it should be the same thing with trying to change your life in such a drastic way,
That's true.
going from A to B. Like that's
Yeah.
just it is what it is. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying you're not about to be doing that when you're a little kid,
Yeah.
making the decisions. Like oh, this is what I'm doing. Whatever. It's different than religion or politics or whatever. Like that. It's just
Yeah.
different.
That's true. Well, that conversation derived from what happened in Power Trip, my wacky, wonderful experience with womanhood thus far.
What part are you talking about?
The part where my parents took me to church, and after a while, I just became bored, and then went off into another church, went on my own, and eventually came back to where they had not the same church, but just to the same religion as they had initially taken me to. And but you should have a chance to choose. I do agree with that. You shouldn't make your kids do. But I do know people who would be upset if you didn't choose what I told you to choose. Then I'm upset.
Yeah, but they're part of the problem too. You can't you can't have both ways. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even saying my answer is right. I'm
Right.
just saying this is what I'm going to do. That's it. Like, I'm not saying that somebody should or shouldn't. I think that's the problem with people try and tell people how to raise their kids, or them themselves are telling their kids how to do things and whatever. And it's just, you can't force anybody to do anything. It's not gonna,
I agree
like I
with you.
said, well, that's two different things actually. Let me specify. So when you're a parent telling your kid to do or don't do something, then that's different because you're the parent,
Yeah.
and so you're able to do that. But when you're somebody else and you're judging another parent, like, well, I wouldn't let my kids do that, or you should let them do that, it's their right, then that's, it has nothing to do with you. You're not
Yeah. Don't
even,
do that.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Like,
That's
you're
true.
literally irrelevant to the
Yeah.
situation.
I
So
agree.
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I got you. Well, I think let's just dive into another two chapters.
Well,
We're
what
going
happened in
where
the
Marie is
chapters?
where Marie is already growing up, and this is part of the issue. Her parents are taking her to church, taking me. I should not talk in third person, taking me to church, and I'm okay with that for a little while, but then I get bored,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go into my own selection.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't bad. Nothing bad happened. It was just life. So I just want to end this show after you've listened to the chapters with Layden and I discussing, which we already have, um, a couple of the subjects in that particular chapter. I want to thank everybody for listening in on CompassionMastersTV.com. And together we are going to all change the world, make it a more compassionate place. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having my back, son.
Yeah, for sure.
God bless you.
Chapter 3: Putting Away Childish Things. Well, after Daddy got sick and Hank helped me out, our relationship changed. He was still a pain, but we kind of looked out for each other. We exchanged friendly insults at school. I nagged him about going after all the girls and being in general a dog. When he responded, "You're the only one for me, baby," I'd laugh. One Friday, after our typical exchange, he actually looked hurt that I laughed. "Why don't you believe that I've got a thing for you?" he asked incredulously. "Hank, you sniff up on every girl. Sure, you talk to me, but that's just because I don't fall for your lines." "But Marie, they're not lines when I'm talking to you," he explained patiently, doe-eyed. "Oh yeah? Prove it," I said boldly, hands on hips, smirk on my lips, eyes wide. "What do you mean, prove it?" he asked. "If you're so all-fired sure that I'm the one for you," I said, "you'll figure out a way to prove it." I tossed my head of imaginary long flowing ebony hair and flounced down the hallway, having delivered the perfect exit line and a picture-perfect view of my backside. Over that weekend, I didn't even think about my conversation with Hank, except to recount it with Suzanne over pizza at my house. Saturday, Caesar, my chemistry lab partner, came over so we could work on a report. He was smart, funny, and cute in a slightly nerdy way. I thought maybe we could talk, get together. But he was pretty shy, so if anything got started, I'd have to make it happen. I wasn't against making the first move, mind you. Mom would call it being fast, but now I realized that when I wanted something, I went after it. I'd have to give it some more thought. In school on Monday, I saw Hank in the hallway right before lunch. "Come here," he motioned to me. "I've got to show you something." He led me to an alcove between two sets of lockers. "What?" He rolled up the short sleeve of his t-shirt. On his shoulder was a tattoo, with my name on it. "Hank Jones, what did you do?" I was flabbergasted. Hank smiled triumphantly. "You said to prove you're the woman for me. I don't have anybody's name on my body." He moved to lift up his shirt. "In case you want to check." "No! Are you insane?" I shrieked and then remembered I was in the school hallway and started again. "Hank, that's crazy! Why would you get my name tattooed on your arm?" "Because I love you," he said guilelessly. "But I don't love you," I snapped back in frustration. "That's okay," he said easily. "You will." Ugh, please! But he was so right. Marie to God. Dear God, All of my friends have boyfriends, but I don't. There's a guy in my class that I like, but he doesn't even notice me. I try to talk to him. I even try to dress in clothes that I think will get his attention, like my short plaid skirt or my yellow sweater that shrunk in the wash and is kind of tight. But I guess I shouldn't be telling you that. Marie to God. Dear God, Hank won't let up. I know he digs me, but I'm just not feeling his skinny behind. He's just too, I don't know, superfly? He talks like a pimp, and I ain't no hoe. But sometimes he makes me blush. I get warmed over and embarrassed when he compliments my look sometimes. I know all I have to do is wear some shorts and a tank top, and he'll come running to do whatever I ask. I tease him sometimes 'cause I can, but sometimes I get bored with his attention. Am I asking for something I don't really want? Is it right for me to entice and tease? I mean, this is the body you gave me. It should be okay to use it to and for my advantage, right? Marie to God. Dear God, I went to see a movie, All That Jazz. There was a pretty sexy dance scene in it. Later, I dreamed about Caesar and Hank. God, I made out with one and later on with the other in my dream. Caesar I get, but Hank, that's too weird for me. I'm sorry, God, for what I was dreaming. Marie to God. God, my girlfriend Suzanne just told me the biggest secret. She let her boyfriend Rodney kiss and rub her private parts without clothes. They were getting high and things went a little far. I really can't believe she let him do that. I know they're going to have full-blown sex pretty soon. Sometimes I long to know what it would feel like, but I get scared and I know my parents would be angry if I were to let a boy do that and they ever found out. I think you would be angry too. Would you, if I was in love? Marie to God. God, Leslie from my 6th period English class is pregnant by her boyfriend John. He's a senior and she's a sophomore. I wonder if they'll have to get married. I think she loves him, but I'm not sure he feels the same. He's always staring at me when we eat lunch in the quad. I don't pay him any attention, but sometimes I think if I were to show him more interest, he would drop her like a hot potato. I sure hope he's not a dog for her sake. I would never want to get pregnant in high school.
Okay, so we're back after listening to those chapters, but I want to go back and ask you, because we can agree to disagree on what we were talking about earlier, but what do you think about, you go through your life obviously being raised with whoever it is, your parents, whoever raised you, and you have sponge years, and that means you soak all this stuff up from a young age, from the very beginning up until however long you live with your parents, and you naturally most of the time end up thinking the way they do just because you're around them from such a young age. But because you said when we were on break, you were like, well, my parents were a specific, they're with a specific opinion on politics, and when I grew up, I just happened to believe the same thing. I just happened to be the same as them, agree with them on that. But what if you agree with them on that because you grew up with them and you think you agree with them,
You're
but it's because
like
you were raised by them. So no, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying you say I just happen to agree with how they think about politics and the party and everything, but you grew up with them and you loved your parents and you looked up to them, respected them, and maybe that molded how you thought anyways.
Well, at some point, I guess they say when you're over 25, your brain is fully formed. So at that point, I could have made a decision to make another choice like I did with religion. I went somewhere else and ended up coming back. So I had something to compare it to. Same way with politics. If you give me a certain party in the beginning and then later I feel like I fit somewhere else, I would be brave enough to make that change. I think it's bravery to me. I think it depends on, are you willing to make that change?
It is, but you had something to compare it to. You had contrast, and so you had what you grew up with, and then you experienced something else, and so you had something to compare it to. But the fact of the matter is, regardless if you had something to compare it to, you still came back to what your parents told you because of, I mean, who knows? Like you said, it's just you happen to agree and believe that way.
Yeah.
But I think that it goes a little deeper than that with your brain, like not you, but just in general, psychologically, you're raised with your parents and they believe something, they act a certain way and whatever. I don't think it's happenstance that people grow up and end up being just like their parents in some aspect.
Yeah, interesting. They were both deceased though. By the time I was able to make that, they were no longer around, so it wasn't
Right,
like
but
they
still, like you still had 20 plus years before that happened, being with them and being, interacting with them and talking to them, having conversations at the dinner table and them teaching you how to be with people, how to be, how to
Yeah.
respect people, how to, like, you had all this time soaking all that up. So even if they were gone, you still had all of this time, like you spent your whole life, thus far with them.
Well, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't know. It's like which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, because obviously, like, you have people who are prejudiced or racist and they have children, and even if they're not trying to teach their children that, just them growing up with their parents and seeing them act certain ways around different people or saying different things or whatever it is,
Yeah.
then
They
they're
become
in
that way.
danger to. Now, I'm not saying they always do, but I'm just saying in this case they're in danger to growing up and then being that way because that's just how they, it's normal to them. Like my dad said that was right,
Right.
and so that's, so I'm just saying I think it's deeper than just it just happened to be, a coincidence. I think that it has a lot to do with you growing up with your parents and having respect and loving your parents, and then in turn that makes you
It could be.
favor that a little bit more.
I never really thought deep into it because, like I said, when I was old enough to make the decision and look at the issues, that's kind of what I stuck to. And I would make a change if I felt didn't go in, it wasn't in line with what I believed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would change. Would you?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not tied to anything. I'm not stuck. So
Yeah.
I've never been that way and felt like it was wrong to learn or study or visit or whatever, do something else with when it comes to religion, politics. What else are we talking about? I don't know. Yeah, the big subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I just thought like I said, I think it's worth talking about it might not be a coincidence. That's it.
True. It's true, though. I never really thought about it. But I also do feel that it's not right to pressure kids to be a certain way just because that's how you feel. I do feel that that's.
No, I agree too. But
Yeah.
my thing is saying even if you're not pressuring them, you're just being who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're still their parents, and so they're naturally going to follow you up until a certain point. They're when kids are really small, you're cool to them, and so those are the sponge years at the same time. So if
Yeah.
you're doing something, they think that's cool or they think that's right. Like just because your mom or dad did it, that makes it right most of the time. Until they get to a certain age and they start feeling like, oh, that didn't feel right. Or I saw him do something. Or I saw my mom do something that didn't feel right. Like they don't realize that until a little bit later. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I don't know that there's anything as a parent that you can do anything about that because you are who you are and you believe what you believe and your kid is your kid and it just is what it is. And then later, as they get older, then, make the choice. Go where you want to go. Veer where you want to veer. That's how I feel.
Whatever. She's not trying to argue on camera, but because I know you, I feel like you were trying to say something else, but it's all right. We'll let it slide. Anyways, she got on me last time because I wasn't wearing the shirt. So, anyways, buy a shirt, get yourself a hat, get some stickers, do something because she's trying to get this product out. So, anyways, go check out the website so she can leave me alone. You have anything else you want to say?
No, whatever, like.
Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in to Compassion Masters TV.
Thank you for listening.